Hello guys. This is going to be a guide on the new Season 12 unit, the Varangian Guards. They are a very powerful unit with a different mechanic special to Season 12. They are currently able to beat any infantry in a head-to-head, and are able to somewhat tank the damage of cavalry as well. The unit consists of two weapons: a sword and shield which they use to soak damage, and an axe which is where all their damage comes from. This is my current loadout for my doctrines. You want to prioritize slashing damage, as that's the damage sources they do with their axes. The blue unit specific Doctrine and the epic sword Doctrine 1 are good. You can also swap the blue Doctrine for a breakthrough or siege fighter. This is my current Veterancy line with the unit. You can go with this Veterancy line or go full tank by filling out the top and bottom lines and the rest go middle. The top half of the middle line is strong because having it filled out basically increases your damage output by almost up to 50%. You never want to have the bottom half of the middle line because the extra hit does not affect the axes of the unit, which is their main source of damage. The shield bash of the bottom line is mainly to help the unit CC units running through them, such as cavalry. However, the shield bash realistically doesn't provide combat utility, with all newer units having CC immunity and how all the axe abilities have some form of CC, so you shouldn't use the shield bash. Unbreakable is the defense of the unit, which gives the unit up to 60% damage mitigation, helping it tank sources of damage that one-shots other units. Raging Onslaught is the damage. The unit pulls out axes and unlocks 3 new abilities. After using all 3 abilities, the unit swaps back to sword. All the axe abilities is a get up and a CC immunity for 2 seconds each. The unit has decent HP values, and it has all 3 attack attributes, but like it was said earlier, only the slashing damage matters. The unit has not very high defenses, so when playing the unit, you want to not be without the shields when in front of a ranged unit like Chevalier crossbows, because they can get bursted quickly by the ranged. The unit has 2 formations. F2 is a condensed formation, where the unit holds a defensive position. In F1, the unit is more spread out, and their AI will seek nearby targets after being attacked or left idle for too long. Generally use F2 for this unit. The unit has a unique mechanic that no other shielded units in the game have. When Unbreakable is active, the unit will always have an active block even while Xing forward. And when I have it deactivated, the unit is like any other unit. An example is Xing into Fortebracho pikemen. When I don't have Unbreakable activated, my unit takes a lot of damage walking in the pikes. But with Unbreakable active, the unit takes no damage at all. When in F2, the unit is able to turn to react to nearby enemies, allowing them to block from other angles. However, the range of turning is not very far with the unit, and fast attacking units or longer ranged units can attack the unit from far away. Always activate Unbreakable for the 30% mitigation. Although the shield reduces damage by a lot, the unit actually doesn't have insanely high block value, but the unit has decent block recovery. This speed is enough that when you swap to axes from sword, cycle your abilities and bring back the shield. your block would be almost fully recovered. The unit has a rage mechanic. However, it's not the same as berserkers. For example, the unit does not gain rage from dealing damage. Pay attention to the rage bar not increasing while attacking. The rage bar does increase while receiving damage and slash or blocking damage. They gain more rage the higher the damage they take. When the unit is fully raged, Raging Onslaught can be used to unleash a devastating strike after swapping out of sword and shield and is an instant get-up. When the unit is getting hero played, you can remove all CC and kill hero divers this way. The first strike with axes not using abilities will be a double hitting sideways strike identical to Great Sweep ability of the axes. The unit without being controlled will then reposition itself every few autos, sometimes going around the block that way. The unit has a cooldown of 8s after each cast for the Great Sweep passive attack. Therefore, if you want to keep the unit in axes to have longer uptime, you want to use the Great Sweep once, then just keep your unit out of danger for 8 seconds. Then send it back in, as the regular autos are very weak compared to when they have the Great Sweep available. The unit XV is not strong. Usually it would be an even better idea to just leave the unit in V so that they don't stack too much. Since the unit without abilities active is super bad DPS, and XV doesn't reduce the cooldown of the Great Sweep when they have axes either. The Great Sweep doesn't occur if you drag V over the enemy. This can catch some players off guard as the unit will not use their damage auto. And then you can instantly activate it when they get closer, trying to abuse the downtime of the unit. Generally you would use the first attack of the Great Sweep when you swap to axes. Then use all 3 abilities consecutively to recharge the rage, as that maximizes the burst. Because the unit deals more damage and heals when under half HP. Sometimes lower HP Varangians are even more scary than full HP ones if they get the first strike. Each unit model has a separate cooldown for the passive attack Great Sweep, which is why you want the unit to all attack at the same time. Otherwise you would spread out your damage too much. If you have a situation where you have your 3rd stage Shatter Shields available, always start with V to use the Great Sweep, then Shatter Shields right after. Starting the engagement with Shatter Shields forces the unit to be unable to use the Great Sweep, and it swaps back to sword and shield. While blocking, the unit is able to hold their ground against regular braced units, but not for a long time, as the unit has a very weak counter-attack. So you have to engage on the braced unit. The unit is weak against units that work in separate ranks or formations spread over a larger area. An example is simply F2 braced stalwarts. If the stalwarts are advancing and then bracing here, my unit would one-shot all the stalwarts together because of the following mechanic. The unit has AoE attacks for its abilities, which is something previously known to be something used for specialty ranged units. The unit has an infinite hit count with all their axe abilities without damage splitting, allowing the unit to apply terrifying bursts against units that stack together like Grey Hairs and Palace Guards. For these clips, I am using a death dot, meaning stacking every unit model on the same pixel Palace Guard to show the mechanic the best. Huskarls also have the ability for their first attack after fully singing to 3 stacks. Reapers attack 3 to 4 models per strike. And you can see how much less DPS Reapers to do the Death. Palace Guards. And now I will show matchups against other units that they might find fighting against in any way. Grey hairs get clapped super hard. Fortebraccio can't touch the unit. Sealithars can clap the Varangians if you wait too long. But if you use the axe right after the initial strike when the Sealithars stack together, you can one-shot. Modeos do somewhat better because they have a wider formation but still lose. Berserkers get clapped. Claymores lose as well. They can tank cataphracts. Because they can let the shields soak in a bit of damage and then use the axe right after to stun the rest of the CAV, bursting them and keeping the unit alive. Stalwarts can survive past a full rotation but fairly easily. Azups survive a long time but doesn't beat the unit either. Chevalier crossbows can't penetrate the shields of the Varangians. But if they press 2 on the Varangians when they are using axes, it can burst the unit. Reapers get clapped super hard. Hussars does not kill the unit. A huge weakness of the Varangians is that they are very vulnerable for a second between their shatter shields and having Unbreakable active again. Abuse that short window when you see it. because of its damage and how the rage works. The unit is a semi-frontline unit that works best for individualized fights and can be used in a team fight as an executioner unit. Unit is very strong around tight corners like walls and stairs. Currently, if the unit receives a lot of constant damage in territory war, it would appear that the unit would maintain their axes even after going through a full cycle. When this happens, after 3 abilities being used, the first stage will go on in 5-second cooldown until the unit receives a small amount of damage. And then the ability becomes instantly available to use again. Basically, to sum it up, new unit is insanely broken, should use it before it's nerfed. Thank you for watching and have a great day.